My name is Marta. I am 62 years old. All my life I believed I had a happy marriage. My husband Henry and I have been married for over 40 years. We have 2 children, now adults, with their own families and lives. We lived in a small but cozy house in the suburbs of Chicago. Henry was not a perfect man, but a reliable one. He worked in the financial sector and had a stable income. I never worried about money because he always said, "Everything is under control, Martha." The main thing is not to worry. I believed him. Until recently. Recently, Henry started behaving differently. I couldn't say exactly what was wrong, but he seemed strange. We used to have tea together every evening, discussing the news and reminiscing about our youth. And now he was staying late at work and more often. And if I tried to ask him what was wrong, he would brush it off, business matters, don't worry. His phone was always with him. He used to leave it anywhere, even forgetting it in the car. But now it's always in his pocket. One night I woke up and saw that he was texting someone. When I asked him who it was, he just said, "It's a client. They're having problems with taxes. Go to sleep, Marta." But I didn't fall asleep. One day I decided to buy a new kettle. Our old one was barely working anymore, and I always liked to have nice things in the kitchen. In the store, when I handed the card to the cashier, he smiled politely and said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the card doesn't work." How does it not work? I was surprised. Try another one. I fumbled for cash paid, and as I walked home I felt anxiety growing in my chest. We weren't rich, but we always had enough. I didn't make big purchases and the bills were paid on time. Why was the card not working? In the evening I decided to talk to Henry. But when I just started, I had a strange incident today. He interrupted abruptly. "I'm tired, Martha." "Let's not do this now." He didn't even ask what happened. He just didn't want to talk. That evening, for the first time, I thought maybe it was not just about work. I started to remember details that I hadn't noticed before. A few months ago, he changed the password on his computer. His calls became short and abrupt. Suspicious debits appeared on my account. And I had always been sure that Henry was honest with me. But now the feeling was different. For the first time in 40 years of marriage, I doubted his words. So I decided to find out the truth. That night I couldn't sleep. My thoughts kept coming back. Why had Henry changed? What was he hiding? Why was my bank account suddenly empty? I had never checked his things before, never looked for evidence of betrayal or lies. We trusted each other. But now something told me that I had to find out the truth. And this truth found me first. The next day, I decided to clean Henry's office. He didn't like it when I touched anything there, but this time I couldn't help but be curious. Among the documents, old bills, and newspapers, I found something that made me freeze. A white envelope, thick, slightly crumpled. I opened it. Inside were bank statements. And not just any bank statements. I looked at the documents carefully. It was a bank account I had never heard of, and the most interesting thing was that it contained hundreds of thousands of dollars. I reread the name of the owner. Henry Brown. My husband. My heart was pounding and my mind was racing with questions. Where did this money come from? Why didn't he tell me anything? If we had such savings, why didn't my card work? I tried to find a logical explanation. Maybe it was a rainy day fund, or some kind of fund for the children. But then why was he hiding it? I put the envelope back in the desk. My heart was pounding so loudly that I thought I could hear it. But at the last moment I noticed something else. There was another sheet between the papers, a lease agreement, for some apartment in the city center. And worst of all, Henry's signature was in the tenant column. It was the moment when all my doubts turned to horror. My husband wasn't just hiding money. He had another place I didn't know about. And maybe someone else. I sat in a chair, holding the lease agreement in my hands. My heart was pounding somewhere in my throat. It was impossible. Henry couldn't hide a secret account, an apartment from me. But here it was, this document, and his signature was on it. I stared at the address for a long time. It was a luxurious neighborhood in the city center, a place where housing costs a lot of money. I took in a big breath. Well, if he didn't tell me about it voluntarily, I'll find out for myself. Though I took out my phone and started looking for information about this house. A modern residential complex with security and private parking. It didn't look like a place for ordinary investment. It looked like Henry lived there. I knew I wouldn't be able to calm down until I saw it with my own eyes. An hour later, I was at the house. The guard at the entrance didn't even look in my direction. I was waiting. I didn't know what exactly I was looking for, but I felt that the answer was somewhere nearby. The door of the house opened and I froze. Henry was standing on the threshold, and next to him, a young woman. I managed to notice how they exchanged smiles, how his hand slid down her back, how she said something to him and he nodded. He was cheating on me. I wasn't looking for the truth anymore. She was standing right in front of me. I stood in the car, gripping the steering wheel so hard that my fingers turned white. There was Henry and this woman in front of me laughing, acting as if nothing was bothering them. So he's been lying to me all this time. The secret account, the apartment, and now this other woman. I wanted to jump out of the car, walk to them, and shout everything in their faces. But something stopped me. If I start a scene now, he will make excuses. He will make me a hysterical woman. No, I need proof. Real, irrefutable proof. I came home, but I couldn't sleep. I went through all the possible explanations in my head. Maybe this woman was just a colleague of his. Maybe this apartment was a temporary investment. But my heart told me otherwise. I decided to act. The next morning, when Henry took a shower, his phone vibrated. I looked at the screen. Beloved, the blood rushed to my face. I slid my finger across the screen to see the details of the message. Yesterday was great. When can I see you again? That was it. Now I had proof. I waited for him to come out of the bathroom, phone in hand. Henry, my voice was steady, even though I was on fire inside. Whose sweetheart? He froze. He looked at me. And then laughed. Oh, honey, do you really have to ask that now? He grimaced. You know how sometimes your phone signs your contacts by itself. And it writes messages by itself, too. His face changed. Did you go through my phone? There it was, the first attack. But this time I didn't let myself get confused. I know about the apartment. I know about the account. And now this. He smiled again, but his eyes remained cold. And what are you going to do? I was silent. For the first time, I realized that he wasn't afraid. He was sure I wouldn't do anything. And that scared me. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone. The name that came up in the message did not leave my mind. Beloved. The woman who wrote such tender words to my husband. The woman he spent time with behind my back. I had to find out who she was. I knew Henry had never been careful with technology. And at his email, social media, he used the same passwords. And even though I felt like I was doing something wrong, my fingers typed the login. The password worked on the first try. A whole word opened up before me that I didn't know about. I opened the folder with the messages I had received. And the first thing that caught my eye was a long letter from a certain Amelia. It was written only 3 days ago. Dear, I miss you. When will we finally stop this game? I want to be open with you. I almost dropped the phone from my hand. Amelia. I remembered that Henry had mentioned that name once. Probably a few months ago in a conversation about work. He said he was working with her on some project. I didn't even pay attention. And now she wanted to be open with him. Maybe he was really going to leave me. Maybe all these secrets are just preparations for a divorce. What if he had already made up his mind, and I had only found out by accident? My heart was pounding in my chest. I typed Amelia's name into a social media search. And she came up right away, a young, well-groomed woman with a white smile and flawless appearance. On her page, there were many photos from pensive restaurants, resorts, and designer stores. And among them, I froze. One of the pictures shows a familiar interior. The same apartment I saw Henry in. He was there with her. I couldn't sit idly by any longer. I had to meet this woman. I had to get the truth from her mouth. But was I ready for this truth? I felt that I was getting closer to the truth. Every piece of evidence I found was a puzzle that painted a picture of betrayal in front of me. But I didn't know the main thing yet, how far Henry had gone. If he really had another woman, then there had to be a financial trail somewhere. Apartments, gifts, expensive restaurants, all of them cost money. And I didn't believe he was spending it from our joint account. I was sitting in the car outside the bank office Henry used to go to. He'd been coming here a lot lately, but he'd always told me it was work-related. I didn't know how to get information until I saw a familiar face. The banker with whom I opened our family account together. I pretended to just come in to talk, and at some point I dropped a lying. "Oh, Henry told me he opened another account with you, didn't he?" The banker tensed up slightly. He didn't say anything directly, of course, but his eyes gave away more than he wanted to. There was an account. A secret one. I went home and started digging through the papers. Henry had never been very careful with his finances. If something existed, it should have left a trace. And I found it. An old check that had fallen out of his jacket. A check from another bank, one that we had never used. Just as I started to think about what to do next, my phone vibrated. An unknown number, I picked up the phone. "Mrs. Brooks, it's about your husband. We need to meet." A woman's voice, cold and confident. I knew this would change everything. I couldn't get the call from that strange woman out of my head. Who was she? How did she know my number? And most importantly, what did she know about Henry? I had to find out, no matter what it took. We agreed to meet at a small cafe outside the city. The place was quiet, almost empty. She was sitting in the corner with her back to the wall. She was a woman in her 40s wearing a strict dark suit. When I approached her, she looked up at me with a cold look. "You'd better stop your search." Her voice was flat, without emotion. "If you keep digging, it will end badly." I felt a chill run down my spine. I did not answer. I waited for her to say something else. "Henry is not who you think he is," she continued. "And his money is not just money. It's dirty, dangerous business." I wanted to ask what she meant, but she stopped me with a gesture. "You don't realize what you're getting yourself into." I suddenly felt small and helpless. Could she be lying? Or was she telling me the truth that I didn't want to hear? "This is your last opportunity. Step aside before it's too late." She got up and left the cafe without even saying goodbye. I remained sitting there, unable to move. If she was telling the truth, Henry was involved in something terrible. But what if she was lying? What? If it was a clever maneuver to get me to back down? The only thing I knew for sure was that I could no longer trust my husband. I came home late, and the first thing I noticed was that Henry was restless. He hardly looked at me, nervously moving around the room. "Where have you been?" His voice sounded unnatural. I lied. I said I was meeting a friend. He didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes. I couldn't close my eyes anymore. There were too many questions that Henry wasn't answering. I felt that I was in danger, but it was too late to retreat. I had to find out the truth, even if it would ruin my life. The next morning, when Henry left the house, I went to his office. All the drawers were closed, but in one of the books I found an envelope. Inside were documents in the name of Mark Hendricks, the passport photo. It was Henry. My heart was pounding so loudly that it seemed like it was about to burst out of my chest. What did it all mean? Why did he have fake documents? I flipped through the pages, offshore accounts, transactions for huge sums. My husband wasn't just lying to me. He was leading a double life. I took a few photos of the documents and put everything back. My hands were shaking as I typed a message to the woman who had warned me. "I found the documents. You were right. What should I do?" The answer came instantly. "Meet me at the same place. But this time someone will be waiting for you." I knew it was risky, but it was impossible to wait. I packed my bag and left the house. There was a black car in the parking lot. A man with dark glasses waved at me. "Get in, we don't have much time." "Ah." In the car, he explained briefly. "Your husband is not working where he told you he was. He wasn't just deceiving you. This money, there are dangerous people behind it. You need to get out while you still can." And I couldn't believe it. Henry was a criminal. The car pulled up outside the motel. "Take this phone. Don't call anyone you know. You'll be traveling far away from here tomorrow." I got out, barely able to stand. Oh, was this really my only chance for salvation? I stood in a dark motel room, clutching the stranger's phone. Outside the window, a noon sign shone, its glare flickering on the dirty curtains. I was shaking. I had to make a choice. Should I wait for Henry to find me, or should I act first? In the morning, I decided that I couldn't run anymore. I wrote to Henry. "We need to talk. I know everything." The answer came in a minute. "Where are you?" I gave him the address of a cafe near the motel. I was scared, but I had to find out the truth. Henry came quickly. Combed hair, perfect suit as always. He sat down across from me with his eyebrows knitted together. "What have you come up with this time?" His voice was calm, but his eyes were intense. I put the photos of his secret documents in front of him. "Who are you really?" He looked at the photos, then at me. A slight smile appeared on his lips. "That's none of your business, Laura." "How is it none of my business?" "We're married. You've been hiding it for years." Henry leaned closer. "If you're wise, you'll forget about it." His calmness was more frightening than any threat. I took a deep breath. "I found your account. All that money. Where did it come from?" He sighed and crossed his arms. "People pay me to keep quiet. If I talk, they'll destroy me. So it's true. You work for Answer." Henry pushed back his coffee cup. "I'll give you money, as much as you need. Forget everything and leave." I could feel my hands getting cold. "And if I don't go?" He smiled. Then you'll be very sorry." I got up from the table. "I don't want your money." His smile disappeared. "Then you've made the biggest mistake of your life." I turned and walked out without looking back. There was only the unknown ahead. I walked down the street, feeling my heart pounding in my chest. Henry no longer hid the fact that I was his problem. And I knew he wouldn't let me go just like that. This game was ending. The only question was who would win. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I looked at the screen, or an unknown number. "You made the wrong choice, Laura." A husky male voice. "Not Henry's. Who is this?" "Your last chance to stay alive." I didn't answer, speeding up my pace. The lights of the station glittered ahead. I had a train ticket, my only chance to disappear. But for some reason, it seemed to me that this was not the end. I got on the train and looked out the window. Darkness, passers by, no familiar faces. And suddenly, Henry. He was standing at the entrance, looking right at me. I picked up my phone and dialed the number. "Police, I have evidence against my husband." There was silence in the phone. Then a voice. "Where are you now?" I exhaled. On the train leaving in 3 minutes." The train started. Henry didn't make it. I watched him disappear into the crowd. My phone vibrated again. A message. "You've made the biggest mistake of your life." But this time, I wasn't afraid. I opened my bag and took out the flash drive with the evidence. Tomorrow I will hand it over to the police. And today, I felt free for the first time in a long time. Is it over? Or just the beginning? Then if you were interested, don't forget to subscribe. This story is just one of many.